I remember you going to sit with him.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? You tell that story.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, so there were these two things, like Siamese twins. So there was self-discovery and there was also forgiveness. Now, when I was discovering myself even better, I started to realize, oh my gosh, there's so many, not even many people, but things I need also to come to terms with and people I need to forgive. Okay. So for you, I wouldn't say, because I was the perpetrator, let me say you're the victim. I wouldn't say that I needed to forgive you much. There are areas just you hurt me, and let me say they were not at inflicting to a point where I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling to forgive you, but you hurt me.
Yeah.
You hurt me.
Yeah.
But to take it back, at that point in time, my first journey of forgiveness was my paps.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that I'm a father, now that I've grown a little more and just understand life more holistically, I don't even hold it to him. I was just so mad and hurt that I have to deal with all this wounding, so that I can be more complete, even to join a marriage or to join with someone else. Because there's nothing worse as coming into another relationship wounded. It's just not a good recipe. So this path has now that path, that 2015, 2016, as I was getting to find and know myself a little more, I realized that I'd put my dad in the prison of unforgiveness. You know, that's the it's the interesting thing, and we learned it from Bruce Wilkinson. But there's a teacher, a fantastic teacher. If there are those who are struggling with the journey of forgiveness, there's a teacher called Bruce Wilkinson. He has a course called 7x7, 7x7. Oh my gosh, that was another paradigm shift.
It was.
Yeah. So I learned that I had put, as I said, my dad in this prison of unforgiveness. And who is it hurting? It's
you.
Me. Yeah.
They usually say, actually, I think I heard Joyce Meyer say this, unforgiveness is like eating poison and expecting your enemy to die.
Well said.
Yeah.
It's self-sabotage.
It is.
It's like you just...
Yeah.
It's you literally holding something, thinking, you know, they deserve it, but it's hurting even more. So I had to come to terms that my dad is who he is. I cannot change him. He's a cultured Meru man who is detached from his emotions, and he was raised that way. And I cannot expect him to give me something that he doesn't have.
Right. You know? And if you, sorry, I'm talking into your story, but like you said before, when you think about it or when you sit with them, they too are probably trying to do better than they had gotten.
Absolutely.
With what they had been served.
With what they had. So I had to come to that point and realize, whether Kenji, don't think you're any better. You know, you see where the point of humility comes in. In the sense that, remember, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. That means that I have carried a lot of things that are very similar than different with my dad. So what does that mean? Come to terms with some realities. And then I started now to just empathize
Yeah.
and to extend grace. So I stopped carrying this huge burden of anger and unforgiveness and be like, Dad, how can you cause me so much pain to a point that my relationships are suffering because I have not found the affirmation from you.
Yeah.
But now, as I said, when I got it from my Heavenly Father, He is there to show me, whether Kenjie, you're not any different.
Yeah.
The people around you who will suffer because of some of these wounds that you carry. Then I decided, you know what, even though if I'll wound my children, let me wound them less.
Yeah.
So let me work on myself a little more so that what we call strongholds, this thing that we're carrying from one generation to another, that load is lessened, or the things that we totally break, like they would not experience because of the choices we've made for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the unforgiveness journey was not really towards you, was towards my dad. And imagine, it's still happening till now. I have not come to a point I'll say total forgiveness, because there's still things he would do or say. It brings me back to that place.
Yeah.
And I get resentful. But I realize, and as I say, I come to the realization that look, that's him, and that he can change.
Yeah.
But I can make different choices based on what I know. And that has given me a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And my healing journey has been accelerated. In fact, I empathize when I see the man he could be, but the things that he's adopted as his truth, holding him in that place, I'm just like, wow, that's not serving you. I wish you knew better, but anyway.
Yeah. Wow. And something I remember, and I think, I also feel, honestly, like some of the changes you are making were also really shocking me. Like it was like light and day. Like it was just like night and day. I was just like, this is a completely different person. Like I told you, God had brought me a completely different person. And it was not, because obviously I'm walking this journey of, hey, let's see whether this guy is for real, But I was actually seeing it happen. And I remember talking about, just jumping on to what you're sharing, like even you being able to go to your dad and have these difficult conversations.
That hard conversation.
Like, because obviously, he doesn't understand like what this is.
That's so
but
true.
You made choices. Like Kenjie, you made choices for your future self. And like I keep telling you, I really honor you for those things.
Thank you.
I remember you going to sit with him. Do you want to talk about that?
So this story with my dad, where brought that story? But anyway,
because it was so
but it
beautiful.
At that moment, no.
Yeah, in that moment, no.
But it's something that I needed to.
For me, watching
into.
it was beautiful to see.
So those are some of the conscious decisions that I was making to heal.
Yeah.
So I realized also the process of healing needs you to face some of, let me not call them demons, but the historical injustices. Okay. And I felt that for me, I needed to have a hard conversation with my dad just about our upbringing and about how I feel. Yeah. And not in an angry way. It was better in a very respectful, but at the same time very honest and candid way. So I remember that day. It was a Sunday. I'd wanted to do it the Sunday before, but I developed cold feet. last minute, I was like, let me go. No.
Yeah.
Nah. Then I went anyway. So this Sunday, I go back home, and I see my dad. You know where he sits at the back, reading his newspaper, and I just sat and like, Dad, I want to talk to you. Even him for a minute, he was set aback. He was like, hey, it's that conversation. You want to talk to me? And then I'm like, yeah. So he's like, okay, let's have a chat. So we start the discussion, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, the things that I've been carrying, and there are certain feelings I've had lately that I felt that I need to share with you. And he, so he's not saying much. He's just waiting for me.
Yeah, because obviously he's like, what are you talking about?
And I went through the whole spiel, which I don't know if I want to go into the details.
No, it's not necessary.
But I want to just touch on the most important aspect of that conversation was the fact that I mentioned how I feel, my feelings.
Yeah.
And I told him deeply what that has made me be. So I asked him hard questions about the many times I feel like I've excelled in certain things, but he's not really placed a hand of affirmation. Like I've never felt like he's ever proud of me, regardless of the little wins I've had in life. So and yes, I could see he was uncomfortable with the whole conversation, and him just being an African dad, he kept cutting me short, like after every 2 sentences, what do you mean? But I tried, but I did, but
because
remember,
he did, yeah.
Yes, and I knew that he will also have his side of the story, which is also fine, but I ensured that I delivered what I truly felt, because this process was not really about him.
Yeah,
this was my process, and the one thing I started to learn, and especially in this journey of masculinity, men are designed, they have, let me call it, salient power within them. So this power can only be activated when you make choices and not excuses.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. If you make a choice, whether it is right or wrong, provided you made a choice, you take back your power. Because there's a way men give up their power by allowing life to happen to them, and kind of can I say, be relegated to fate? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I made a conscious decision to have this chat with my dad.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it could go south. But there I was open-minded, because it was a very tough conversation, because other things, but they were borderline disrespectful, because it's very honest.
Yeah. In the African context.
Yes. He was like, how do you want to tell me that? The things I could say were making him mad, agitated. But because I've also grown, and to the point where this discussion has to be mature, I see he restrained himself from making it about him. But anyway, long story short, after that conversation, first we didn't agree on a lot of things, but it wasn't, okay, come for a hug. It didn't go that way. But I actually went back to my little cave, and I was proud of myself.
Yeah, but one key thing, and the reason I actually brought that up, is because you told him that I love you, Dad.
Yes, at the end of the conversation.
Yeah, you told him you love him.
Yes. And
I mean, for anybody who maybe is not in the African context, saying I love you in an African home is like, what? What do you mean? It's like uncomfortable, But even more so for a man telling another man, I love you.
Yeah.
But you did that.
I did.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he said he loves me too.
Oh, he did.
He did. But I don't know how he said this.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean,
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so, like, I guess then also that speaks to that little boy.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. So the parts, but then there's some parts I remember within the conversation. Hey, it was a whole roller coaster. The parts I was like, oh wow, thank you, Dad, for saying that, you know. And there's some things I was just like, oh no, there goes the
man, you know.
The ugly head is coming out. But I'm like, contain yourself, contain yourself. This is the moment. Let him be.
Right.
So it was such an emotive conversation. But as I was saying, when I went back home, and that time, you remember I used to live in that little joint in Karinde.
Oh, that time you moved out?
Yeah, I had.
Oh.
I had.
Okay.
It was much later.
Okay.
It was like, remember now I got the job in KV 2015. It was in 2015. But that whole 2015 was...
There was a lot happening.
There was a lot happening.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember reflecting and just being proud of myself for those steps.
Yeah.
And it gave me now more impetus to keep going.
Wow.
Because now I felt, oh, so this is the masculine journey is not as smooth, it's not predictable, but it's facing the fears, and then moving in God's wisdom. And so now those are the days that literally I can say God used me as a mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are many times I remember saying things, I'm like, oh, that's actually me who said, okay. And I remember I was just asking God, put your words in my mouth, put your words in my mouth. Let it not be consumed by my own talk and my own speak. Yeah. Yeah. So back to you. That was my process of forgiveness.
Wow.
Yeah. And later in life, it's built a muscle in me because many other times I got scarred by many other people. But I used the same principle of truth and taking back my power to find forgiveness. The people I've had to have hard conversations with and draw boundaries and tell them I don't agree and that has hurt me. Yeah. And I do not bend backwards and I leave the situation as is and I walk my own healing journey for myself. Yeah. You know, yeah. So that I'm also not out of integrity with my emotions. That's also another thing. Yeah. But I don't want to start that conversation.
Yeah, so basically what I'm getting from all this wisdom flowing out of you is the forgiveness journey is you're responsible for the forgiveness journey, for your healing and the forgiveness journey. Like, unforgiveness is only detrimental to yourself. And walking this path of forgiveness is actually for your own good. And it is it's in your own capacity. Because even like you're saying, going to talk to your dad and just sharing, like, I love you and whatever else you had to share, like you don't know what you're gonna receive in return. But you still chose to do the part that you needed to play. In so doing, it's positively helping you on your path.
Correct.
To forgiveness.
Correct.
Wow, I think that's a lot. That's a huge one, Kenjie, and because I think many times, like, even honestly, when I think about my path of forgiveness with you, I think I was walking one still with a lot of doubt and with looking to see, let's see if this guy will, there was still a lot of fear of getting hurt again. There's still a lot of, just, is this guy for real? Has he actually, done a complete turnaround? Will he hurt me again? Will we end up where we were again? So I feel like for me, my journey was like, let me see how you're moving so that I can be able to know whether I'm safe. I'm safe here. But let me just speak to, in the context of people in a relationship, and especially because, I mean, at this point, I mean, yeah, in the context of people in a relationship, that essence of men taking headship and men taking lead and being able to lead, right? Lead. I feel like it influences the relationship a lot. Like in the sense where I feel like in the space I was in, you influenced me a lot. First to believe again, believe in the relationship again, believe in the words that were coming out of your mouth, and believe it was possible to actually build this thing again and try again and just have something different than we did before. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and I think it's more powerful when you model it than when you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the many times we say things that we don't believe, or we're not willing to take the risk to make the action.
Yeah.
And they become empty words. So I think also I've seen you being inspired by action more than words. Has it been for you also taking me back after, all these things, things are looking quite shifty. You've shared the bit where you're saying you had to watch me a day at a time.
Yeah.
But where you are right now, like, have you healed? Have you forgiven? Has it been smooth? Where you are right now?
Yeah, right now, like right now.
Yes, and just in terms of that forgiveness between you and I and the things that happened.
I mean, like, surprisingly so. First, yes, it has been a long journey, a long one. Like I've said before, forgiveness, healing, it's very possible to go through it. Like Kenjie brought up the fact that we had this program by this guy called Bruce Wilkinson.
Yeah.
And there's a session specifically on forgiveness, and that session was so powerful. There's activities to do, and I remember doing some of those things along the way. However, it is not a magic pill. It's not a magic wand. Like, yes, you're walking the journey of forgiveness and healing. But as I said, there'll be triggers. There'll be, because truthfully, like if we think about, even as we continue walking this path, you're working on yourself, I'm working on myself. There's still areas within us that are fallen, that are, would cause hurt to the relationship. And there were still moments of hurt in the relationship that happened. And so forgiveness had to consciously keep, like, it was like a choice I had to keep making every day. And I feel like one of the things that maybe that first, like I said, I started to believe you, like this version of you, and these choices you are making started to show me that this guy first is for real. Yeah. So that helped me start to hold on again to this relationship that I want to build, that I want to choose to build because of the things that I'm seeing. So seeing first was believing for me. Seeing first was believing for me. But now along the way, I had to still make conscious choices, even in moments where maybe the sight, I was not seeing it. Like maybe there was hurt that happened, or maybe there was some sort of regression that happened, maybe in your case. And I had to choose to believe in the person that I was seeing was a work in progress. And yeah, so I feel like that was also part of it, just choosing you every day, knowing that, I think I also had to start knowing that you are not perfect. You are going to hurt me. I mean, like, you're going to make mistakes along the way. I think I realized that I had a tendency to place very high expectation on you specifically. Like I would place very high expectations that even I probably, if they were placed on me, I would falter, you know. And I feel like that's something that I had to start to look at in my journey of healing and forgiveness, to see that, yeah, I think you first of all, you've placed this person as a thing you're looking at, to on this path you're on. But I needed to learn to first shift my focus, not on you, but to the God who has brought me this far. So like allowing him to keep on being the one I could run to. I remember something I used to do a lot, like even in the moments like I've shared, maybe would have arguments or whatever, and I would feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, why did I even think that this thing would work? But initially I would run to God first. And I remember there's a day we had an argument and I ran to God first. And as soon as I finished that prayer, because I was telling on you to God and telling God, like, yeah, this guy, look at what he's doing, like really, as in, and then immediately you called me after that prayer and apologized for whatever it is that was going on. And so I feel like I also started to learn that I needed to shift my focus more on God and trust him more with this relationship that we were rebuilding and that we were working on.
You've mentioned just taking it to God, but I feel there's so many other things in between you've learned that you've glossed over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, because your forgiveness journey is a big journey. It has been the core work you've had to do. Yeah. Because it touches on your personality, it touches on how you view people, what you said, expectations, self-preservation. There's a way you need to show up in places, and if you can preserve image, some of those things I feel like are so key, because in your healing and your forgiveness journey, they've been so key for you even to progress to see you here right now.
So something that I realized as well is that this journey, you cannot do it alone. Like in the sense where, why I keep mentioning God is because I couldn't do this as me, as Mwende. Like I just feel like there's a lot that it takes to actually get to a place of forgiving somebody, especially when they've hurt you, when they've caused you pain, and like you said, because you almost feel like, I mean, they're undeserving of your forgiveness, because how could they, you know? And there's also the element of offense, which is also something that I started to see in myself, like where I could easily get offended by actions done intentionally or unintentionally, and the offense would take such a huge turn into looking at, like, even say if I think about something that could have been done unintentionally, but it's almost like I would personalize everything done to me. Like, you've done this to me, and how could you, as in, like, it was like a personalization to who I am as a person.
As a person, yeah.
Yeah, so it would, like, the things that somebody else externally would do would speak to it, almost like I gave it so much power that it would define me. And I think that's also something that I also had to start doing. And to be honest, let me just say, I feel like that work has started even more recently, like, or rather more actively.
I agree.
More recent, like we're in 2024, 2023, when I signed up for the program that you have been a part of for a really long time.
You can plug it in.
That has allowed you to, they have not paid any, I'm joking, that has allowed you to speak so with full of wisdom. Honestly, like they are speaking, I'm like, where? Got a long way to go. No, truthfully,
and
like the
it's
fruits
also
can be
life,
seen.
but it's also life experiences. I don't cut you short, so
It's okay. So I feel like I have actively, or rather what this program that I signed up for last year is doing for me is making me go deeper than I really, like I thought I had worked on some things, but it's making me really, open up those dark places that you.
So what are you finding out about yourself?
So what I'm finding out about myself is that, so first I think I don't like mess. Like I don't like messy situations. I don't like, or rather, let me say, I don't like being seen as falling short of, or being weak in, or, having been, like, even thinking about our situation, like that brings me a lot of shame because of the perfection I want to carry for myself as a person. So like thinking about somebody, rejecting you, like I said, so I started to realize like things that people did, I would take personally and it would define me. So something that you do that has a lot to do like with what you're sharing today, with past, with you, with your choices you're making, and really less to do with me, becomes more to do with me. Are you getting what I mean? Like you hurting me and making choices that have nothing to do with me but end up hurting me because of those things, I end up drawing definition for myself from that. I'm not sure I'm very clear, but I just hope somebody gets it.
No, what I'm getting is, one, you're saying you're learning also your part that loves perfection, a part of you that loves to show up in a certain way without any defects, faults.
Yeah, like I want to carry myself with such a high, high regard,
Okay.
and I want others to see me that way.
Yeah.
Like I don't imperfection to be around me. I don't want a broken, messy relationship to be part of my
your
story.
Okay.
Because that then defines me. Like if in a situation like ours, like the one we have gone through, defined who I was, but yet I had no control over the choices you made. Like I had nothing to do with the choices that you made, but yet I carried the load of it's defining me. There's probably something wrong, or taking on that load. Yeah, so that's a lot that I'm learning. Just that essence of wanting everything to be perfect, carrying everything, and also the people around me to a high standard, which is also something else I think even then I had to start working on, and even now even more, like having grace for you. That was hard.
Just for me?
Like in that season.
Okay, in that season.
Okay. So because you see, I'm working on forgiving you. So that means I have to have grace for the moments that you might fall short. And that was hard because again, you've said you've changed. You've said you've stopped doing these things. You've said, okay, so then that is my expectation and nothing less. There's nothing wrong with having expectations, but I think there needs to be those expectations with grace. And the same way that I received God's grace, like I shared in the previous episode, where I felt like I experienced God's love for the first time, where it was undeserving, and His mercy and His grace was, just what He gave me in that season, is what I also started having to learn to give as well. So it's almost like I received it, and therefore I had to learn to give it. Was it easy? No, because I think there are so many moments when say I felt like you had fallen short of this standard that I had created, and I'd be ready to throw everything away, you know.
And not worthy of grace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I also feel like that's what could be the struggle with the culture today, and I mean, we really want to run for what is new, the brand new shiny toy, and don't want to work on I don't want to call it the old, but we don't to work like we are ready to throw everything out and let's go look for the brand new shiny toy. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so I feel like I had to roll up my sleeves and put in work, like work on, and it was not only on, because I think initially it felt like the focus was, okay, this guy has to prove himself, you have to show that you're trustworthy, and while that could be true, I also started to realize there was work within myself that I too had to do. And even in those moments where, like I said, I started to tell God what was, involve God in the situations that I was finding myself in with our relationship, I would get convictions like, yeah, but what did you have to contribute to that? Like, no, but I've come to tell you about your son who is messing up, but I would feel like God calling me out as well. Like, but no, you go apologize. You go say sorry. I'm like, what?
And how's that?
What do you mean? It was hard, especially in the beginning, but I remember moments where I would actually, like, I would suck it up and come and be like, you know, I'm sorry for A, B, C, D. I see how maybe the way I spoke to you, or I see the way how whatever it is that now in that moment I've realized that I contributed to the situation. I see how it would also diffuse. Is that the word? Diffuse the situation. Like, it's almost like you two would be. It's almost like someone's heart is opened. There's a tension that is released, and the doors of I'm open. Yeah, I hear you. I'm listening to you. So anything that was outside, or anything that was tense, anything that was heated, calms down, and everyone can now talk and understand and hear each other out.
Yeah.
It's
actually a point I must say you've really grown in. In the beginning of our marriage, that wasn't the case, and I used to struggle a lot with having to always be the first person to apologize. You know, always having to, you know, kind of, can I say, be the bigger person, so that, I mean, we are running an organization, there's a family to take care of, and things must be sorted out. So I used to find that, she doesn't seem like she's done anything. Getting an apology is next to none, you know. But I've seen you really grow in this space where sometimes you catch yourself that you've actually done something that's off, and you'd be like, hey, Kenjie, by the way, what I said, what I did, that wasn't right. And I must say this work is actually, I'm seeing the fruit of it. So keep working.
Keep working, But even I feel like it's interesting, but this work I feel started a while back. And I guess that's why we say everybody's journey is different, and sometimes maybe the fruits might take longer. Maybe the roots are growing deeper in the soil, and then you start seeing because I feel like there are moments, like even the moment I'm talking about, where God would convict me and like, no, go apologize. That was before we got married. That so clearly you didn't notice. Ni sawa tu. I mean, it was like 1 out of 100.
Hey, let me just, I've noticed that just the other day.
Maybe that's an area to work on for yourself.
I'm on a journey, I guess.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, there's a lot more, I feel like, we could say with regards to forgiveness and healing, but I feel like that's a lot of the lessons, some of, and maybe a lot of the lessons that we've learned through the journey, and something that we had to do to even start and start walking towards a journey of, building our relationship. And even before we could talk about marriage and all that, we had to heal, we had to forgive, we had to be self-aware, as you're saying, and it's a lifelong journey. So it's nothing that will happen in an instant. So give yourself grace, give your partner grace, hold on to each other and to God, and you'll see the fruit. So I think we can, wrap up this episode and prepare to have a conversation on the next episode about just how we began to prepare for marriage.
Wow, we're already there. Oh my gosh, what a journey. Those stories are many, in plenty.
Stories are many. Yeah. So stick around. We are heading towards the exit of our story. But I do hope that along this journey you are picking some, nuggets here and there. Mm-hmm. And if you have, anything that you'd love to share, please put it in our comments. We have an Instagram page. DM us if you have a story that we can relate with, or a story that you'd love to even share on here. Reach out, tell us. I would love to connect and even talk about some of those stories that you guys are sharing here. Mm-hmm. So we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Adios.